With us now, Congressman Dan Crenshaw of Texas, former Navy SEAL, decorated veteran. Made a lot of sacrifices for this country. Congressman, very good to see you. This back and forth on what our challenge will be to Iran. We've identified the group with clear ties to Iran. First of all, do you agree with that tie? Do you agree that this is likely the group?
Yeah, look, Iran funds and equips, trains all of these groups. You know, the IRGC, the Quds Force, their specialty is surrogate warfare. They've been very good at this for decades. It's worth noting, like, that drone was not made by militias. There's no drone factory that militias run. It's an Iranian-made drone, and then the militias didn't steal it from Iran either. Iran gave it to them for the purpose of using against their enemies, which is us. So, of course, Iran is directly responsible. Now, look, there's a list of options, and I don't have that list of options, right? That's a list that the DoD gives the president. And that list comes with it certain risks, depending on which one you choose, right? Certain escalatory risks, and that's up to the president to choose which ones are acceptable. If you're asking me what my opinion is without actually having the list, and even if I did have the list, I couldn't say it out loud, my goal would be to hit them at a point that makes you just slightly uncomfortable, because that makes them very, very uncomfortable. And you have to send a message of deterrence. People need to remember, deterrence equals peace. That's what deterrence actually means. You can say peace through strength. It's a popular slogan to say, but then people get really squeamish when it comes to the actual strength part. See, that's the hard part. And you have to speak with strength and you have to act with strength. And so that's what I expect to see from the Biden administration if they're going to prevent any more U.S. casualties.
So, Congressman, if by deterrence our goal is to make Iran think twice about any actions, even through its proxies against the United States, wouldn't that be most effective hitting Iran in Iran? Or are there other ways to do that?
It could be. Again, there's literally 1,000 options that could be listed. It is not out of the question to hit inside of Iran. Like, you know, you hear some people clutch their pearls and say, well, you're going to start World War III. That's not necessarily true. The World War III doomsdayers have always been wrong. They were wrong about Russia. They've been wrong about the Cold War. They've been wrong about this too. They were wrong about Soleimani when that strike happened. They thought that would start a war. Look, we are the more powerful entity in this equation. Iran is a half-rate power. They can talk tough. They put out tough statements. They always have done this. There's nothing new under the sun here. They still know behind closed doors what our capabilities are, and what they need to know, it needs to be more obvious to them, is that we're willing to use those capabilities if they continue to take these kind of actions. They've had 165 attacks on us since October, but now we have 3 dead U.S. service members. The game has changed, and so our retaliation needs to change, and that escalation dominance needs to be reestablished against Iran.
You know, Congressman, besides this Islamic resistance in Iraq, this group, the latest that we fingered, there are obviously continued Houthi rebel attacks. It was another one just in the last 24 hours. So there are a lot of groups, all with ties, financial and otherwise, to Iran. How do we start separating what could be like a hornet's nest of these groups?
I'm not sure what you mean by separate them, but I mean...
do you attack them all at once? And do you go after all of them? What do you do?
Not necessarily. We have a lot of tools in our toolkit. Look, we have a lot of ways to collect intelligence on these groups. We have our forward deployed forces. That's who was attacked in Jordan, for instance. But the reason we have forward deployed forces in Iraq and Syria and Jordan, our allied countries, is so we have eyes and ears on the ground. We have a variety of tools with which to hit them. And it's like, I'm not at the tactical level here. But if I were, I'd be assessing, okay, who is the right person to attack, or what is the right location to attack? Maybe it's the place that they're storing some of these drones that Iran gave them. Maybe it's an actual production facility in Iran. Would that spark a war? I'm not so sure it would. But I want Iran to think that we're capable of doing that, because I need them to think twice about retaliating. And there's already some indication that they do think twice, right? Kataib Hezbollah came out and said that Iran had nothing to do with this. It was all us, and we're not going to do any more attacks. That was really interesting. To me, that's my opinion. That signaled that the Ayatollah gave them a call and said, hey, this has gone too far. You might cause us some real problems here, because the Americans are serious now.
Congressman, while I still have you here, there's a separate move afoot on the part of many in your party to try to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas. It might be a Republican-only vote if even the votes are in that House committee, let alone the House itself. What do you think of all of this?
Look, I think we're desperate for some action, right? And I think that's what this is about. I think what really needs to happen is we need to win elections and we need to get border policy changes done. You know, that gets to another question about the ongoing negotiations in the Senate that we have yet to see. But look, I'll vote for impeachment because this administration, whether you want to blame on Mayorkas or whether you want to blame the White House, this administration has deliberately violated its oath of office by refusing to execute the laws of the land. And I would point specifically to the paroling authorities that they have. I think they've abused those wildly. And so just for that, you might have grounds for impeachment.
All right, we'll watch very closely. Congressman, thank you again and for your service to this country.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.